Welcome back. This is Robin Mines. Before we went on the break, we were talking about the American elections versus the Nigerian election. What are the lessons that we can, learn, the positive takeaways from the just concluded U.S. elections? And right now, we want to talk about Project Nigeria. Now, when you hear of the country Nigeria, what comes to your mind? Do you think of the most populous black nation in the world, filled with lots of talents, or do you have negative stereotypes in your head? If you think of Nigeria as a company, just imagine it for 1 minute. If Nigeria was a company, how is it being run? How marketable is the product Nigeria? Let's look at this country from a brand perspective. And that leads me to Brand Nigeria Crisis, the cost of misaligned optics. In the studio to discuss Brand Nigeria is the creative director of The Masses, Ayo Ishola. Welcome to the program.
Thank you very much for having me. It's a player, just like I say.
I like how happy you are, and I like your demeanor. That is how Nigeria should be reflected.
Yes, but there's a bit of some anger within. But let's just go, because this topic is really particular to me, because you find out that you have a lot of people who are putting in the work, the craft, the hours, the shifts. They are spending their blood, sweat, and tears in making sure that their optics, the way people see them, their perception is perfect. However, the major container, the omnibus container that carries, whether we like it or not, no matter how far we want to run away from Nigeria, we are still Nigeria. So if the country isn't looking good, we might be looking good individually, but it will get to some point where we feel that little bit of drawback, and we are like, I only wish.
Okay, so let's attack it directly. What are the issues with the brand Nigeria?
Okay, so before we even talk about brand, let's look at Nigeria as a product first. And we cannot understand the product Nigeria unless we understand what the product is and how people attack products. Unfortunately, we are in a time where how good your product is or how best your product is does not determine the speed at which or the frequency at which people will go to buy your products. Now we are living in a world where people don't buy product, people buy people. And at the worst case scenario, people buy perception. In short, there is even a saying, it's cliche, you can't judge a book by the cover. So we have a lot of people who spend more money on the cover of their books, because if a cover is what it will take you to buy the book, then I'll spend my budget on the cover. So if Nigeria is a product, what is our cover looking like? Unfortunately, if I said we are not looking good, it's an understatement. We are looking super terrible. And we are looking super terrible because in most cases, you find people who, they take their time, to work on the product. But even if the product is not so good or meh, they spend money on the packaging. And because of that, people rush for the product. Now, this is a country, right? We have people that are doing well, from the individualistic level to the MSME level to the SME level to the private sector level to even the let's say the nationalistic, but in quotes, not necessarily the country, because it's painful, right? To the representative level, and this is what I mean. A Davido, for example, a Burna Boy, for example, you rather associate yourself with Burna Boy than associate yourself with Nigeria. And I say that with all form of humility, if you get what I mean.
Okay, so not to interrupt you, I need us to sort of attack the issues. So what are those negative factors that has affected our product, that has affected our brand as Nigeria? So is it politics? What exactly are the issues? Let's list it out, and then let's see if we can prefer solutions in terms of rebranding. What can we do better? So let's start with the negative factors.
I wouldn't want us to say rebranding, because if I say rebranding, it's almost like I'm just creating another opportunity for one big man somewhere to chop money.
Okay.
And they do it every time. Painting our passport from green to yellow will not change how terrible I feel when I'm at another country's border and the immigration tells me to bring it out. The color won't do anything. And rebranding as a word has been so overused that it has now lost the respect that it deserves. So, for example, let's just look at how very diverse and how misaligned who we say we are and what the people see us as, or who people see how it's like. For example, We are the giant of Africa, right? We call ourselves the giant of Africa. I don't have to say what we look like right now. So a Davido can be seen as someone like me can even be seen as a bigger giant than Nigeria. And I'm saying that with all form of humility, of course. We say we are bold. How do we feel when they tell us to bring out our passport? We say we are happy to go home. When we are outside the country and it's time to go home, we are very excited. But when you get to the first point where you are welcomed, the airport, how do you feel? Nigeria is filled with happy people and everything like that. When you check online, just Google Nigeria. Will you see anything that looks like happiness? Right? And when you look at Nigerians, you see a lot of individuals leading outside this world and even, outside this country and even within the country. But when you look at the country itself, what is the picture of leadership? I don't know if you get what I mean. Then even in the business, sphere, the MSMEs, the SMEs, you see how somebody is, in short, you are Hero Daniels, right? What's your native name?
Hero Ifeanyi Chukwu.
Okay,
Daniel.
so let me give you two headlines and then you can pitch it side by side. Hero Ifeanyi Chukwu Daniels. His palm wine business now becomes a $1 million business in Singapore. That's one headline. Another headline, Hero Daniels Ifeanyi Chukwu. His palm wine business becomes a $1 million business somewhere in Nigeria. The picture of one is finer than the other. Once he's in Singapore, you become, pun intended, a hero. But in Nigeria, somebody will just be like, this guy don't sabi person. I don't know if you get what I mean.
Yeah.
Okay,
so you are talking about underlying issues such as the governance, like how good governance, issues of corruption, issues of nepotism, because you just mentioned that, if you succeed, they'll say, it's because you know somebody. Issues of transparency. So are those the negative factors that have sort of giving Nigeria its negative image? Because I really want us to now get to the solution.
Amazing. I wouldn't want us to beat corruption with the worst stick ever, because that is not really the problem.
So what is really the problem?
There are people who are doing not as good as us, but they are positioning themselves well. There are countries, even the whole China of this world, the American of this world, the Singapores of this world. If you look at their news and you really want to be critical, you'll see some levels of corruption that we have here. But they have decided that they want to look good. Let me give you an example. For example, the country wasn't really the best place to be in terms of happiness, in terms of temperature. And when I say temperature, I mean cool or hot. And when someone is hot, is angry, right? So we're not really the coolest, set of people when the national anthem was changed, right? Even though people were really angry, even though it might come with a lot of good intention, don't get me wrong. I looked at the lyrics. I looked at the wordings. I actually preferred the old one that was brought back than the one that we currently have. But it came with a lot of bad taste simply because it was just dumped. There was no optics involved. Just imagine, the creative director of the masses, right? Good. Imagine if stanzas, lines or sentences or words of this anthem were dropped in several local government areas somewhere in this country. Like you have Nigeria, we hail these, dropped in somewhere in Brimingwari in Kaduna, maybe etched on the back of a tree or, on a sign somewhere. And then you ask different people, find these stanzas. And if you find a stanza and we find out it's the original stanza that you found, or sentence that you found, we are going to give you probably a piece of land in Abuja. Right? A lot of people will start going on the hunt. Everybody will start looking for the verse. Don't forget, we are not happy that we are changing it, right? But there's an activity, and people start finding it, and people begin to win things. What we have done is that we have bypassed that emotion
and created excitement.
Yeah. So you don't have to have people go online to look for the lyrics because of the activation, because people are looking for places. You are using an indirect and subliminal means to put these verses in people's mind. Another example, imagine sometimes like Independence Day, for example. This is a country where the best we can do is maybe we sing a song with maybe most of the politicians, or we do a commercial with somebody wearing, black and white, the whole Idoma, somebody wearing Isiagu, somebody wearing, Ashoke. That's what we have always been doing. Imagine, and compare that with what content creators create on Independence Day. Imagine the country championing what their fellow content creators have created. Imagine the country saying, this time it is you who will be creating our content for us, and we want the country to create it, right? Now, compare that again with what happens when Nigerians are hustling or they are trying to get something done. You will not see any form of government body backing that person. But if the person wins, they want to repost it or they want to snap a picture with the person.
Yeah. It happened with Hilda Bassi, yeah.
Exactly. And it's so this is the problem, and this is where people get it wrong. We can't wait till when we are perfect before we begin to concern ourselves of how we look perfect.
Okay, so now I'm going to ask you this at this point. As a brand specialist, imagine Nigeria as a company that you're running. What can we do moving forward?
What we can do moving forward is that we need to pay attention to other things aside the metric tons and our foreign reserves is this, because yes, I know it really matters, because at the end of the day, the people at the grassroots, they'll feel it, right? But when you begin to look at the aesthetical picture, the optics, how I look, I might be thinking something very bad in me right now, but a very nice person painted me powder. Why? Because it's important I look good for the camera. We need to look good for the camera. A country like, please excuse me for using America, a country like America, it wasn't a fluke. When we were little and we discovered that, wait, why is it that everybody that comes to save a bad guy in a movie is always an American? Superman is an American. Sorry, they said it's not from, it's from space, but the color on his body is from the American flag. Captain America is sorry, there's even America in the name. Look at the Avengers. Little by little, you start thinking, I would rather have an American come to save me than have my own country.
So it's subconscious.
It's subconscious, and it's on multiple levels. See what I spoke about regarding the issue of the national anthem and the singing. I did not say we should change the anthem. I did not say they should not put it out. I did not say we should keep the old one. I just said the aesthetic doctrine. I'm by career, I'm a brand person. And by intention, I'm a perception designer, because it is important to design what we look like. You cannot fall into the basket of, oh, he's a good guy. You can't fall there. You design it.
Now, I can fully understand what you're saying, because that's why everybody's talking about the American elections that was just concluded. Over here, when we're doing the protest, a lot of people were calling out to foreign countries, please come save us. So it has become part of our subconscious to think that the West has it all.
Brilliant.
Now, do you think the media is also playing a role in this? Because if a Nigerian, if an American of Nigerian descent achieves something, they are going to call him an American. They won't even mention Nigeria. But if he commits fraud, even if he was born in the U.S., raised in the U.S., they will say Nigerian scammer. The Western media, they are so quick to put a tag on not just Nigeria, a lot of African countries. If there's a crisis, if there's hunger, the bodies will come, film hungry children, and that's the image, they put out there. So what can we do using our own media? How can we empower our own media? Because in terms of money, budgeting, the Western media has more. Penetration, control of social media. I don't even think there's any app that is being developed in Africa that is global. All the apps are American apps. So what can we do as Nigeria, as Africa, to sort of boost and combat even the Western media that is putting the negative stereotype on us?
First of all, let me say that's an amazing question. And I'm not saying it from a political, oh, you have a good question and I'm trying to figure out the answer. You asked a beautiful question. Two questions, in fact. First, from the media point of view, what do we do as a media, as from the media houses, the press, the newspapers, the even content creators these days, right? Then secondly, as a country, as a collective, the first one, the media side, let me answer it this way. The highest quality score, and I might not want to be too clinical and scientific here, but you discover that what Punch says holds more water than what anybody says in the country. And that's why when you Google Nigeria, most of the pictures you see are kidnappings, explosions, this one did one, this one. You will hardly find the good news. Why? Because people like the big media houses, I don't want to call their names. I don't know if I'm allowed to do that. You know, they are quick to publish those negative news. However, I think sometime in January, I was in the UK, right? I went for a program, and then somebody, my in-law's father, was telling me that bad things happen here. There is a neighborhood not too far from here. Terrible things happen there. Trust me, it's dark there. But the news and media dare not let it get out, because it will affect their optics. I'm not saying we should bury things that are happening, please. I'm just saying, if you can't bury the bad, shine light on the good. On the other hand, I know that you'll be like, oh, good news does not make money.
I get it, and I think in fact, we are out of time. We barely have 60 seconds left, and I need you to use the 60 seconds wisely. So, yes, we've concluded on the fact that we need to brand Nigeria. So how do you now carry Nigerians along in the process of branding in terms of the activities you mentioned earlier? Just 60 seconds. Give us ideas.
Okay, brilliant. The first idea I'll give is whatever initiative there is that is about to go out, you can select and prioritize. This is the one that is most fun, that the citizens and the content creators and the people and Nigerians, you know, will like. You know, how can we make them participate in this? So in other words, don't say we are making another new road. You can call people. What does this mean to you, if you get what I mean? And even in a different way, you can even ask people that today is not going to be a media house. Sorry, I'm sorry to say that because I'm in a media house right now. It's not going to be a media house that is going to show the launch of this road. It's going to be regular people that are going to show the launch of this road. And by the time you see more mobile phones than more major big camera, your news becomes more believable.
All right, thank you very much. We can have both the big cameras and the mobile phones. Yes. Don't worry, we don't want to get out of jobs there.
I usually say my player, then thank you.
Thank you very much.
Don't just stand there teasing me. Now it's time to show